I've talked to a lot of people that are Democrat-leaning, that if the Democrats did more to live financially within their means, and I'm not by any means absolving the Republicans here, not by any means, because it's two-party problem. But how do you think, with Democrats in power, we could balance the federal budget deficit? And I know that corporate America needs to pay their fair share of taxes, but I just wanted to get your input on that.
Well, I think it's important to note, exactly who had what kind of a deficit. Let's just go through the list here. Donald Trump generated an $8 trillion deficit, or added $8 trillion to our debt. George W. Bush added $3.2 trillion to our debt. Reagan added $1.4 trillion to our debt. Let's see. Obama added $6 trillion to the debt. George W. Bush, Bill Clinton had a surplus. Bill Clinton did not add anything to our debt. There was a $63 billion surplus throughout Bill Clinton's 8 years. George W. Bush had a $1 trillion debt. Jimmy Carter had a $253 billion, not even a trillion. This is the problem, frankly, is not so much Democrats or Republicans. It is this two Santa Claus theory that the Republicans have been operating under since 1981. In 1976, June Wadisky wrote, a Republican strategist, wrote an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, arguing that people thought of Democrats as Santa Claus and thought of Republicans as Scrooge. Democrats brought us Medicare, Medicaid, minimum wage, everything else. Yeah. And he said the Republicans need to become Santa Clauses, and the way to do that is with tax cuts. And so whenever a Republican comes into the White House, they need to cut taxes like crazy and drive up the debt. And then when Democrats come into office, Republicans need to start screaming about the debt and yell about the debt throughout that Democrat's term. And then when a Republican comes back into office, stop talking about the debt and increase the debt. And Republicans have been doing this ever since. They have been massively adding to the debt whenever they're in office, but without a peep. Donald Trump with his $8 trillion that he added to the national debt. And then, when Democrats come into office, Joe Biden cut our annual deficit from $3 trillion, Donald Trump's last year, down to about $1 trillion. He cut the deficit by more than half. Nobody talks about that. He gets no credit for that. A. B, I'm not, frankly, all that concerned about the national debt. Japan has had a national debt that is more than 200% of GDP for over 30 years, I think. It costs countries something. There is a cost associated with it, but it doesn't cripple countries, at least countries that control their own money. It would be a whole different thing if we used somebody else's currency. But that's what I know about that, Mark. Mark, thanks for the call. It's 48 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archive.
We'll be right back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stay tuned. I have a heartfelt reason to support my blood pressure. In fact, more than half of the U.S. population would benefit from blood pressure support, and that includes me. I've had high blood pressure for years. Super Beets Heart Chews are an easy and convenient way to support healthy blood pressure, and they promote heart-healthy energy. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in Super Beets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. And with over 30,000 5-star reviews and counting, Super Beets Heart Chews are having their moment. Having taken Super Beets Heart Chews daily for years now, I know I'm doing something right for myself every day. They're right next to my bedside. Every night at bedtime, I take one. I feel like I'm helping my heart every night. They're effective and clinically studied. Super Beets is the #1 pharmacist-recommended beet brand for cardiovascular health support. It's blood pressure support you can trust. Double your potential with Super Beets Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beets Heart Chews and 15% off your first order by going to getsuperbeets.com and using the promo code TOM. That's getsuperbeets.com, code TOM.
What can the wisdom of the 19th century provide for you? Turn back the clock with White House correspondent Ellen Ratner and renowned spiritualist Ann Gaiman to find out. In the new book, Self-Empowerment, 9 Things the 19th Century Can Teach Us About Living in the 21st, they shed light on history's greatest spiritual minds. Take a journey into history and healing with the masters of the 19th century as your guide. Self-Empowerment, 9 Things the 19th Century Can Teach Us About Living in the 21st, available through Changing Lives Press at selfempowermentbook.com.
Happy anniversary, honey.
Oh, you shouldn't have. Wait, is that a goat?
Goats are a great gift, but maybe not for her. Go to goatsfortheoldgoat.com to give a goat and end hunger in South Sudan. So, do you like it? Goatsfortheoldgoat.com.
In the war-torn areas of southern Sudan, one goat can make the difference between life and death. Visit goatsfortheoldgoat.org.
What can the wisdom of the 19th century provide for you? Turn back the clock with White House correspondent Ellen Ratner and renowned spiritualist Ann Gaiman to find out. In the new book, Self-Empowerment, 9 Things the 19th Century Can Teach Us About Living in the 21st, they shed light on history's greatest spiritual minds. Take a journey into history and healing with the masters of the 19th century as your guide. Self-Empowerment, 9 Things the 19th Century Can Teach Us About Living in the 21st, available through Changing Lives Press at selfempowermentbook.com.
One goat can make the difference between nourishment and hunger. One goat can make the difference between poverty and sustained income. In the war-torn areas of southern Sudan, one goat can make the difference between life and death. Find out how you can help. Visit goatsfortheoldgoat.org. That's goats, F-O-R, theoldgoat.org. Fighting hunger, one goat at a time.
Attention floor buyers. The 6th annual fall flooring yard sale's going on now at Lumber Liquidators. Get high quality flooring at low yard sale prices like Woodlook waterproof floors from just 39 cents. All Dream Home X2O water resistant laminate is on sale. Pre-finished hardwood is starting at $149. Get more deals in store while supplies last. Plus special project financing and professional installation with Install Plus. Hurry, visit lumberliquidators.com to find the Lumber Liquidators store near you today.
I'm Jay Farner from Quicken Loans. Choosing the right mortgage lender involves much more than just a rate. Quicken Loans has earned 11 J.D. Power Awards for client satisfaction. And we invented Rocket Mortgage, a simpler, hassle-free way to get a mortgage completely online. No one else has anything like it. So choose Quicken Loans, America's #1 online lender. Call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
Equal housing lender, NMLS number 3030.
Help support progressive radio. If you're listening to us on a commercial station, call their advertisers and let them know you're listening. If you're listening to us on Pacifica, or one of our many nonprofit stations, please support them when they do their fundraising drives. Thanks for supporting Progressive Talk Radio, and tag you're it. And welcome back, 53 minutes past the hour. Julie in Ithaca, New York. Hey, Julie, what's on your mind today?
Oh, thank you so much, Tom. I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you. My comment, I'm going to make it really quick, is that since President Biden, started doing this stuff with negotiating with Medicare Part D, blah, 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 I want to tell you, I just got to notice that my premium just went up double, like twice.
Your Medicare premium or your Medigap premium?
My Medigap and my Part D drug.
Okay.
And part of the meds that are listed in President Biden's thing is one of the drugs I take. Mm-hmm. And they've been raising their prices. Eliquis,
right.
Excuse me. It's like a really common drug that people take.
Yeah. And it's an expensive one too, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And it's a better drug, but and I'll go on the lesser drug, but I couldn't believe that they doubled my premium. So I am on basic Medicare. And
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
And these guys have been playing us for fools. They've been playing all of us for fools.
The state of California sues major oil companies over climate damages. Another investigation shows big oil executives plotted to deceive the public, discredit climate science, and delay action. Plus, protesters demand the end of the fossil fuel era as UN General Assembly gets underway.
Good luck with that. No, seriously, good luck with that. All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
Climate change is a global issue. It calls for a coordinated global policy response, not piecemeal litigation that benefits attorneys and politicians.
Says Mike Wirth, CEO of Chevron. So you know you can take that to the bank. No, seriously, you can take that to the bank. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, we have been tracking, warning, concerned about this for at least 2 weeks, but Hurricane Lee is finally over?
Yes. Over the weekend, Hurricane Lee finally made landfall as a post-tropical storm in Nova Scotia on Saturday, bringing heavy rain, coastal flooding, and wind damage linked to the deaths of 2 people and knocking out power to tens of thousands along the U.S. East Coast and Atlantic Canada.
Sounds like a bullet was dodged there?
Yes, it wasn't nearly as damaging as it could have been.
Good.
In other news, in a bombshell new investigation, the Wall Street Journal reveals the oil industry is still deceiving the public about climate science.
You don't say.
Previous revelations showed that Exxon and other oil majors knew as far back as the 1950s that fossil fuels cause dangerous man-made climate change and then spent millions to mislead the public about it. The Journal revealed new internal documents uncovered in a lawsuit showing that starting in 2006, after Exxon publicly conceded that fossil fuels cause global warming, their executives then plotted to muddle and downplay climate science findings to protect their profits.
Of course.
Exxon is a defendant in dozens of liability lawsuits accusing the company of deception. Over the weekend, California added another one, suing 5 of the world's biggest oil companies. California alleges that ExxonMobil, Shell, BP, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, and their lobbyists in the American Petroleum Institute knew for more than 50 years about the risks and harms of using fossil fuels and mounted a decades-long disinformation campaign to discredit climate science and deceive investors and the public, all while causing billions of dollars in damages to communities and the environment.
That's a serious matter. If California was its own country, it would be, I think, the 5th largest economy in the world. So they have some firepower to bring behind this.
Yes, they do. California's lawsuit details decades of oil industry climate disinformation and claims that the oil companies created a public nuisance, destroyed natural resources, and violated California's false advertising and product liability laws. The state is demanding the creation of a special fund for oil companies to pay for climate damages in the state. A spokesperson for Shell said the company understands the need to address climate change, but believes that the courts are not the right venue. But California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom wasn't buying it.
The climate crisis is, after all, a fossil fuel crisis. Period, full stop. And these guys have been playing us for fools. They've been playing all of us for fools. They continue to play us for fools. The scale and scope of what the state of California can do, we think can move the needle. It sure as hell can do this, and forgive me for being long-winded, it can illuminate their deceit. It can illuminate their deception and their lies over the course of 50, 60, 70 years.
Mary had a little lamb. The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
I got rid of Roe v. Wade.
I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade.
I was able to do it, and I was very honored to do it.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form. There, of course, remains a vital role for the federal government in protecting unborn life.
Nobody has ever done more for right to life than Donald Trump. Roe v. Wade, they won. They finally won.
The Iowa bill was signed, and they wouldn't have been able to do anything if I wasn't able to do what I did.
Okay, so he wants to take credit for women bleeding out in parking lots. Okay, give it to him. Give it to him, everybody. Give him the credit for, women getting sepsis, women having twins. One is viable, the other isn't. And so both should die now because they're not allowed to get, the unviable twin removed from the womb because Donald Trump did it. He did it. He's proud of it. That's his deal. That's what's going on there. It is the sickest position I've ever seen. And, now all of a sudden the Republican Party is being handed polls, not the kind that Lauren Boebert was grabbing in the movie theater. No, polls with numbers on them. Well, he could have too. I don't know. You have no idea what's going on, anywhere now with tattoos being what I don't know. But anyway, they're handing polls over. Mitch McConnell's office is actually polling people. And Mitch McConnell's former staffers are actually polling people, running, polling companies. And they're finding out that the whole idea of pro-life, the words pro-life, actually mean different things to different people. Like somebody like me, a pro-life position might be no guns, in schools. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a pro-life position for me might be health care for all. And a pro-life position for, somebody in Alabama might be, locking a woman up if she miscarries and can't prove that it was naturally miscarried, right? Like that. So, and they're finding out that they need to change the verbiage. They think this is the reason why people don't want to vote for them. And, listen, that is the history. So people don't want to vote for them ever since the Supreme Court weighed in on the Dobbs decision, the Roe v. Wade. And that's why the midterms looked the way the midterms did. Everybody's like, we were going to have this red wave. Remember that? And then it didn't happen. It didn't. We added a Senate seat. Yeah. We added a Senate seat, and then the House, McCarthy is enjoying, a 4-seat majority, so that Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar can actually hold him hostage to their hopes and dreams that we can, kill the United States government once and for all. See, this is what happens when you give the governing job to people who hate government. Also to people who have no idea what they're doing, which is epidemic in this here country, from what I'm sensing. But, I mean, obviously, these are people that don't want to see the government continue in its current form. They don't. This is why it was so important to, show you what Mitt Romney told The Atlantic. The author of the new Mitt Romney biography was a reporter at The Atlantic and wrote a 2-year, followed Mitt Romney for 2 years. And Mitt Romney said a lot of people in his party don't have any respect for or love for or desire to continue with the U.S. Constitution. They just don't like it. They don't like the checks and balances. They don't like the oversight provided for. They don't like any of it. And so they're going to try and destroy the government. They're going to burn it down to the ground. And Donald Trump, well, he'll be giddy because Donald Trump obviously found out that the Constitution precludes him from doing some of the things he dreamt of doing, like stealing an election. Right? And so they have no use for it anymore. And so now they're finding out that they're anti-constitutional, extra-constitutional ideas, things outside of what is permitted in a constitutional republic, the one we have here. They're finding out the hard way that people don't like it. And it ain't a messaging problem. It's not a messaging problem, okay? This is Erin Carmen. She actually puts it so succinctly and, just hit it right on the head, okay?
Republicans don't have a messaging problem. They have a woman getting sepsis problem. They have a teenager or preteen being forced to carry to term problem. They have a problem that the Alabama Attorney General says he will prosecute people who try to help people cross state lines to get an abortion. No language change in the world can occlude the reality of what these policies actually mean beyond the rhetoric.
Right. And women are dying and women are suing and women are actually talking to the TV. They're talking to hosts on, various television, platforms, and they're talking on Twitter. They're talking on, YouTube channels. They're talking to and you know what's crazy? You know what's really nuts about the women that are saying that what they're saying? These are women who desperately wanted their babies. These are women who desperately were going to add to their family or were going to start their family with their beloved husbands, okay? These are the most American, looking, American sounding, American participating women that you could ever imagine saying, oh my God, I was left to bleed out in a parking lot because I lost my baby in Texas. Or, oh my God, I was left to get septic because I had a problem after 6 weeks in Missouri. Okay? And these are normal, everyday women who are meeting their maker or nearly meeting their maker due to the pro-life policies that are killing women. I mean, listen, anything that they stick their fingers into, anything that they try to legislate, any policy and by them I mean the Republican Party, the anti-government Republican Party, the people. I mean, if you put libertarians in charge of government, guess what you get? Guess everybody. Somalia, right. And I've been saying that for how many years now? Okay, since Somalia became Somalia. So, I mean, putting them in charge of anything having to do with life, having anything to do with, debt and deficits, having to do with funding the government, it's never, ever going to work out. It's never going to, because their entire modus operandi, their entire goal is to create chaos, period. Their entire goal is to make us stressed. Their entire goal is not to solve problems. In fact, with Trump, he created problems, fake problems we didn't have. And they did it too. You know, when we found out that there was no fraud in the election, what did Republicans do in Republican states across the land? Yeah, they said, we do have a problem, even though we don't have a problem. And they put all kinds of voter intimidation and voter suppression efforts into play. They also started cheating and gerrymandering the hell out of their maps. Okay, I mean, because they understood that anything that they were for was a chaotic solution to a problem either we didn't have or a chaotic solution to a problem that was easier to solve than they pretended it was. One of those problems that we're experiencing right freaking now, right in this real-time moment, we have about 11 days to go before the government is not funded. And all that we are asking for the Republican Party to do is to either join with the Democrats who are already in the House of Representatives, who are willing to vote for a continuing resolution until October to fund the government, until, cooler heads can prevail, or to go ahead and live by the budget agreement they made in May when they said that they were going to default us. Remember that? With them, it's always chaos. So in May, they said, we're going to default the United States and we're going to become a debtor nation and we're going to become a third world country because we don't like the terms. We want to pay down this. We want to pay down that. But they had no plans to pay down anything. What they had a plan to do was to cut Social Security and to cut Medicare benefits and to, cut everything but the military. Well, we reached a compromise with them in May. And they agreed that was good. Everybody gave a little something, and they didn't default us. That agreement is still in place. They don't want to honor it now. Now they want to not pay the government and shut it down.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1977. That was the day that is remembered in Youngstown, Ohio as Black Monday. The Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company announced plans to close its doors, laying off more than 4,000 workers. Youngstown was a steel town. During the first half of the 20th century, plants were booming. Youngstown was also a union town, a stronghold for the United Steelworkers by the 1940s. 1940s. But by the 1970s, the once booming steel industry was going bust in Youngstown. More and more jobs moved overseas and to states with less union protections. Black Monday began a devastating series of plant closings. 2 years later, Briar Hill Mill closed, followed in 1980 by U.S. Steel. In 1985, it was Republic Steel's turn. By the early 1990s, the steel industry, which had once employed 40,000 people, only had 1,000 workers left in Youngstown. William Lawson, the executive director of the Mahoning Valley Historical Society, recalled the impact of the closings, saying, quote, "Over the course of my high school career, many boys and girls I had known in grade school left. Some in the middle of school years, most during the summers, as their parents accepted transfers to work in other plants around the country or lost their jobs and went out in search of employment elsewhere." In 1997, the Jeanette furnace at the shuttered Briar Hill plant was dynamited, despite preservationists' efforts to save it. Bringing down the Sweet Jenny furnace became symbol of Youngstown's economic ruin, memorialized in this Bruce Springsteen song. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
The Bob Cesca Show. Bob Cesca.
I think McCarthy's only going to serve one term as Speaker.
Well, yeah, because he's going to lose the House leadership regardless, because we're going to take it back. But
yeah, right.
I mean, it's funny because he's making Paul Ryan look like an effective speaker.
I know. Well, Paul Ryan faced these same groups of crazies.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have ever guessed? We're following the election of 2012, and Paul Ryan's the vice presidential nominee, and we're watching this guy. I think very few of us had a sense of just how brutally insane the Republican Party was going to be within 5 years of that. Yeah. Just the madness that has collapsed in this country on our heads. Oh, meantime, reactions from the Senate about this impeachment inquiry nonsense. Asked if there's enough evidence to impeach Biden, Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Republican West Virginia, another member of the Senate GOP leadership team, replied, "I do not think there's enough evidence to impeach Biden." Senator Marco Rubio, Little Marco, for his part, said attempting to impeach a sitting president should generally be avoided for the interest of the country. Meantime, Representative Ken Buck, this is an actual member of the House of Representatives. He said, "The time for impeachment is the time when there's enough evidence linking President Biden, if there's evidence linking President Biden, to a high crime or misdemeanor. That doesn't exist right now." Thank you, Congressman Buck. Moderate House Republicans, such as Rep. Don Bacon, Republican Nebraska, say House GOP investigators haven't found any smoking gun that would warrant voting on formal impeachment proceedings. Mitt Romney said, quote, "There hasn't been any conduct which reaches the constitutional standard for impeachment. So, yeah. Good luck."
Bob Cesca.
It's the Bob Cesca Show. New episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, everywhere you get your podcasts, and at bobcescashow.com.
Don't give up. Don't give up. What's true?
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
An NBC News poll from June shows that 61% of all voters disapproved of the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe. And this issue didn't just register in polls, it actually swayed elections. Just last month in Ruby Red, Ohio, voters sided with defenders of abortion rights. In Wisconsin earlier this year, a winning candidate's pro-choice message helped her flip the balance of the state Supreme Court. In the Republican stronghold of Kansas, doesn't get much more Republican stronghold than that, voters chose to protect abortion rights in their state. And of course, in the 2022 midterm elections, the Republican Party vastly underperformed expectations. There was no red wave, largely because of their opposition to reproductive rights. Now, facing another major election, the GOP is in a bit of a pickle, and they know it. They're even meeting behind closed doors to discuss it. According to new reporting from NBC, Republican strategists are exploring a shift away from pro-life messaging on abortion after consistent Election Day losses for the GOP when reproductive rights were on the ballot. The reporting details a closed-door meeting this past week where Senate Republicans were presented with poll results that showed the term pro-life no longer resonated with voters. No kidding. Senator Josh Hawley actually said this with a straight face. Many voters think pro-life means you're for no exceptions in favor of abortion ever. A little memo to Mr. Hawley.
Yeah.
In Missouri, which is the state you represent, abortion law makes no exceptions for rape or incest. No exceptions for rape or incest.
Right.
But they don't seem to be wrapped up in these pesky little details of the actual impact of the policy because they are seeking a rebrand. Pro-life now becomes, in the words of Indiana Senator Todd Young, pro-baby.
Pro-baby. Pro-baby. So are they for free Infamil? Are they for free diapers? They're not pro-baby. I mean, this effort at rebranding is really laughable. It's hysterical, actually, if you think about it. Josh Hawley is a senator from Missouri where there are no exceptions for rape and or incest. There are 11 states in this country. 11 states in this country where there are no exceptions. 6-week abortion bans go into effect way before women even know they're pregnant. And then on the other side of it, you have women who really, really, really wanted their babies, who can't get anybody to help them when their pregnancies are septic or when their babies are not viable, meaning they have anencephaly, no brain, no skull. Their organs, unfortunately, are not forming in the chest cavity. The heart is in the abdominal cavity. That happens too. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can't be diagnosed, usually between 18 and 24 weeks. Okay, there's a lot of different things like anencephaly can't be diagnosed, meaning what I just described to you as, no brain, no skull. It can't be diagnosed most of the time until about 18 to 20 weeks. And if that happens in a sonogram, you're screwed in a whole bunch of states in this here very free country, like 17 of them. Like 17 states, you can't get health care. Okay? I mean, this is so bizarre. This is just so ugly. And then you have brains that are leaky. Yeah, you have that. I don't even know how to pronounce this one. I looked it up. Encephalocele. Somebody who maybe knows a little more about that particular, a malady can but that can't be diagnosed either until late in a pregnancy. And then you've got something called Turner syndrome. You've got, lymphangioma, cervical teratoma, Dandy Walker syndrome, which is really vile, can't be diagnosed successfully until about 30 weeks to 36 weeks. You understand what I'm saying? This is so disgusting. But every single time they stick their beaks into stuff they don't understand, which is everything, they just don't take the time to learn any of the issues that they're legislating on. They screw it up, and that's by design. That is what the goal is here. It is to screw things up. It is to create chaos. It is to stress out the population. It is to make life so unbelievably difficult. For basic things like wanting a family become so scary and so full of, helplessness. And you can't, Alabama, the attorney general there, this guy is a piece of work. His name's Steve Marshall. The attorney general in Alabama just filed a brief with the state saying that he has the authority to bring conspiracy charges against groups who might help a woman leave Alabama to get medical care after 6 weeks if something has gone wrong with her pregnancy. Whether the pregnancy is wanted or not, that isn't even the attorney general's business, okay? But any assistance helping a woman get health care in Alabama, he's creating a whole new class of person under the United States Constitution, and that would be an Alabama woman. I swear to God, Alabama women are not allowed to leave Alabama in order to get health care with the help and assistance of any group, whether that group is providing. He actually is seeking he says he has the authority to prosecute people for providing financial appointment help. Making an appointment is now a crime, or he wants it to be in Alabama for an Alabama woman. can't make appointments for an Alabama woman whose baby might be, toxic to her, and she would like to live another day to try again. Too bad for you. You're an Alabama woman. You can't help her make an appointment. You can't help her travel. You can't assist her in information. I guess now, I don't know, Travelocity, Expedia is now, a conspiracy theory website. I don't know what it is. It's not theory. It's a conspiracy website. You can't go on Expedia and you can't go on Trivago and book a hotel if you're leaving Alabama to go get health care in New York City. Oh, my God. I mean, like, how far are we going to get down into this stuff? But this is what he wants. He wants a legal ruling clarifying that he can prosecute people for giving any appointment help, travel help, financial help to an Alabama woman if that woman is trying to obtain an abortion in another state. And any group that does something like that, I'm guessing it's, travel sites too, quote, he writes, this is the Attorney General of Alabama, Steve Marshall. He wrote, quote, an elective abortion performed in Alabama would be a criminal offense. Thus, a conspiracy formed in the state to have that same act performed outside the state is illegal. His office compared that they categorized abortion in Alabama by virtue of the Alabama legislature's vote when they described abortion in Alabama as, quote, one of the highest wrongs, comparing it to murder. Alabama can criminalize Alabama-based conspiracies to commit abortions elsewhere. Alabama women are a new class of American. They're not allowed to get medical help in case of a toxic pregnancy. They just have to die, I guess.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.
This is Stephanie Miller, and here's what you missed.
I'm not opposed to having Donald Trump on, but I'm opposed when you have Donald Trump on and when you don't push back with facts and hardly against his bold-faced lies. And that's exactly what Kristen Welker did. For anyone who watched that interview, I think it was an embarrassment. And perhaps the most insulting part was at the very end. She told her audience, well, if you want a fact check, go online and read the fact check yourself.
Yeah, I mean, now a warning. Under now a warning. Yeah, go. I mean, exactly, Victor. That's our point is this is what he does. In fact, it's a gish gallop, right? You've probably learned of this if they haven't burned your book yet. This is the Nazi technique of lying. So many lies and so quickly, you can't refute all of them, which is why it's so dangerous to give fascism a platform, right?
Yeah. Yes. And the only person who I think could have done that, is either Jon Stewart or Mehdi Hassan. Those two are so good at interviewing. And it's like Kristen Welker just let him talk over her, and she offered a couple of pushbacks, but it wasn't nearly enough for all the lies he told. And I think one of the biggest things that the media often misses when they interview Donald Trump is they cover so much to the point where you can't really do that with Trump. You have to focus on one or two things, I think, and nail him down on all of those topics. But I think what we saw yesterday was just an embarrassment.
And this is how we get to polling that shows, people think they're equally corrupt. Biden and Trump, or I haven't even mentioned Texas yet this morning. That where Republicans voted to acquit Ken Paxton, who everyone knows is a crook, but because they do not believe in the rule of law. They do not believe in democracy anymore.
And if you listen to I forgot who said this, but after the vote, you had a bunch of Republicans in Texas say, long gone is the Bush era. They say it out loud. This is not the Republican Party that we used to know. This is a new party that embraces corruption.
Hear all this and more on the next Stephanie Miller Show.
Every woman knows the terror of sexual abuse and assault. Too many of us know the pain firsthand. Some attack us mentally, Some go beyond that. For too many, it's physical, even fatal. There's no excuse for sexual assault and abuse, unless
say it with as
you're
much
Republican
respect as I can,
Donald Trump.
but she is not my type.
Supporting Donald Trump sends a message to every abuser,
You can do anything. Whatever you want.
every rapist,
Grab him by the pussy.
and every man who's ever used his power to hurt a woman. Because if he can do it, why shouldn't they?
Oh, thank God for Ted Cruz. Once again, the far right-wing U.S. Senator is saving you and me from a political horror that doesn't exist. This is Ted's specialty, for he seems unable to deal with the real economic and social problems that workaday people actually have. Thus, he constantly tries to divert attention from his senatorial incompetence by staging embarrassing political stunts, such as his furious fulminations against Big Bird, Mickey Mouse, and other fictional characters. Unable to triumph over them, however, Cruz is now conjuring up entirely fictional conflicts to let him, a Harvard-educated elitist, pose as a hero of working-class commoners. Beer drinkers, for example. The cruiser recently swooped onto a Republican TV show, squawking like Chicken Little.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Yes, I have a big sign in front of me that says "Give out the phone number." Okay. Anyway, we have 4 more days, including today. So really 3 more days after today to raise $210,000 for the next quarter for Free Speech TV, which is independent media that takes absolutely no corporate money and no political money at all, ever, from anyone in any setting, ever. Okay? It's you and me, baby. It's viewer-supported television. We've been doing this for 25 years. People love this stuff. They believe in us, and they put their money where my mouth is, and we are forever grateful to those who do. If you're not one of them, join the happy, peppy people that have media that actually tells them the truth, that they can actually dialogue with, even if they're a bastard. They could call and they can have an argument with somebody who can argue with them. So please do support Free Speech TV. As you can see, people are doing it, and we appreciate it. So call now. The number is on your screen there at 877-378-8669. That will get you a human being in Denver, Colorado, where Free Speech TV is. You can use that little QR code over there. You know, you just take your camera on your phone and put it up to that QR code, and it will show you the website, which is freespeech.org, okay? And if that's too complex, which I get, then you can go to freespeech.org, or you can use your phone, and you could text FSTV to 44321. Many, many ways to participate, many ways, all thinking of you and your comfort zone. Yes, and your ease of participation. So please do something. Any one of those methods will work, and we say thank you in advance because we know we will make the goal. It's $210,000 that we all have to raise every single quarter, and we only get 2 weeks. 2 weeks to do it. So we have what? Today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's it, and then we're done. All right, Judy in Denver.
Hi.
Hey.
I heard you talking about what pregnant women are going through. I got raped and pregnant back when abortion was illegal. But I heard you call these anti-abortionists pro-life. They're not.
No, they're not.
They are pro-death.
Yeah.
They do not support any help for any of the mothers and babies that are born to poor women, because wealthy women can get abortions even if it is illegal. But these people refuse to help those in need, but force them to have these babies that they can't afford to take care of. So I'm asking everyone to please call them either pro-death group, or even the Republicans are pro-death, but do not refer to them as pro-life. They are not pro-life at all.
So
they support the death penalty.
So what I think they are is pro-neglect, okay? This is where they fall on almost every issue that you could possibly ask them to address, okay? So, like for government funding, they neglected to do anything, and now we're down to 5 seconds to figure out 12 appropriations bills.
Right.
They can't do it because they neglected their jobs, and so now we have to do a continuing resolution until October. Same thing with women's health care, okay? They want to neglect women's health care. They want to neglect the things that happen in a pregnancy. They're pro-neglect. They're pro-suffering. They're pro-chaos. They're pro-scrambling for everything, right? Even scrambling to pay your bills, right? So they know that if wages are so low, that our lives are going to be chaotic, and we're going to scramble every month to figure out, do we pay the electric bill, or do we have 30 days grace there, or do we have to pay?
There.
Right, exactly. We've all been there. They don't like to solve any of our problems.
Right.
Even getting information now has become a heavy lift in this country. It's all by design, Judy. It's all.
I know.
Right. So
I know. I've been a Democrat for over 50 years. I'm over 70. I know. I'm so pissed off about it. So
I know.
I'm right there with you.
And they get their thing done. Okay, they wanted a ban on abortion. They got it, and now they're understanding that women are not about that. Women never were for it. Everything was always talked about in the abstract. It was always talked about, oh, you want to kill a baby. I used to joke, I'm getting an abortion right now. You know what I mean? It was never about that. It's never.
Right.
It was always about health care. And it was always about choosing when to start a family and with whom. You didn't get to choose.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I know.
And it's about they're having all the power. They are shoving their supposed religious beliefs down everybody's throat.
Yes, but the dirty little secret is it isn't even a religious belief, because I've shown people 87,642 times how abortion is in the Bible. It actually is.
Yes. Yeah, God produces abortions by miscarriages and stillbirths.
Yeah, and also there's potions you can drink. If a woman is pregnant and it's not yours, you get to kick her in the stomach. There's all kinds of references to abortion. For women who are committing adultery, which is mentioned as being a bad thing, and yet all these uber religious people like the Christy Gnomes and the Lauren Boeberts, they're all getting groped in theaters or having affairs with, Corey Lewandowski. I know of no woman that hasn't had an affair with Corey Lewandowski in the Republican Party. They've all had their sex with that boy. I don't know what it is that he's got that's so fabulous.
Oh, I know. There are family values guys in Congress in the past, at least. I'm sure they're still there. Some are still doing it, that have forced their girlfriends to have abortions.
Yes. And if you think Donald Trump hasn't ever paid a woman to abort his baby, then you are toiling in some mystical, magical universe that I would like to get to without using drugs. Do you know what I mean? Show me the way to that place.
Oh, yeah, I agree totally.
Well, thank you, Judy. I appreciate the call.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
Keep it up.
You too. And tell Corey Lewandowski not to. And tell that Democrat that has, drag shows at his, Hooch's Craft Cocktail Bar in Aspen, not to date Lauren Boebert, because as soon as you get caught on videotape with her hand in your pants and your hand on her boob, the fake one, she's going to turn on you. She literally said, oh, first, she denied that it ever happened. Then when she realized there was videotape of it, she said, oh, I really should have checked his party affiliation before I agreed to date him. It's his fault, you see. It's his fault that she put her hand in his crotch, which then made him grab her boob. I don't know. But these people are such front-running phonies. So you have to say to yourself, so what is the goal? Obviously, it's not a religious thing. They have absolutely no fortitude to walk the walk. They're all, at best, just, people that give lip service to it. They don't practice what they preach, not even close. So the answer is, it's all about chaos. It's all about scrambling, making us scramble for everything, for us to scrap, for us to claw, for us to be completely neglected.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.
School is back in session, and Republican lawmakers have been working all summer to make this year the craziest one yet. Say goodbye to boring woke books like Fahrenheit 451. In fact, just burn them. Do the horrors of slavery bum you out? The GOP has you covered. We've refreshed it with a brand new spin.
Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? No big deal.
Wow. Time for lunch. Oh, not for you, Jimmy. We're rolling up our sleeves and rolling back free and reduced lunch programs. What a freeloader. Go make varsity. But wait, not until the GOP double checks your genitals to make sure they match with the team. Thanks, Coach. And take an extra 20% off our already low standards with doorbuster deals on bulletproof backpacks. Now available in toddler size.
Now show me how you use your bulletproof backpack.
Come to the Republican Party and go back to school the far right way.
For 248 years, the United States Marine Corps has valiantly defended this country against foreign enemies. The Marine Corps' legendary courage, determination, and skill on the battlefield leaves our enemies in fear and our allies in awe. Marines of every race, creed, and color have sworn a sacred oath to protect our Constitution. They fought, bled, and died for this country. Today, the Marine Corps faces a domestic enemy, a small man with a big mouth, determined to destroy the Corps for his petty political agenda. Tommy Tuberville is creating a national security nightmare. Who wins from Tuberville's attack on the Marine Corps? China, ISIS, Vladimir Putin. Tommy Tuberville insults every Marine who ever served, and he puts the men and women of the Marine Corps on the line in danger. Every U.S. Marine is a patriot. Tommy Tuberville is a traitor.
Today, an indictment was unsealed.
It's here. Now, that's what I call conspiracy. Volume 3. 78 of the hottest indictment charges from your favorite superstar president. And still technically not a criminal. Like, conspiracy to violate civil rights. Conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Obstruction of an official proceeding. And conspiracy to defraud the U.S. government.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Collaborations with hot new artists like Co-Conspirator 1.
Let's have trial by combat.
And we'll throw in his bonus lyrics booklet just released. Now, Volume 3 has the best of today's court docket topping hits and all the charges from the classified documents case, including obstructing justice, making false statements, and of course, retaining classified information.
Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers, except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. These are the papers.
Yeah.
See, as president, I could have been less.
Yeah.
Now I can't, but this is classified.
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Dozens of incriminating and for some insane reason recorded tracks, such as 34 felony counts of falsifying business records and a hush money scheme.
When it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you, so...
Okay.
No, I got... No.
Order now and get all these hits. Or order in a few weeks and we can squeeze in a couple more from an upcoming indictment in Georgia.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
Now, that's what I call Conspiracy, Volume 3. What's that? Volume 4? What? Oh, Volume 4. Guys, how many of these are there? Why don't I just record all the numbers, because this keeps happening. Save us some time.
Glad to have a MAGA-packed Supreme Court? Proud that they lied under oath to get the job? If so, thank a MAGA Republican. If you enjoy seeing our rights disappear one by one, thank a MAGA Republican today. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Whether you're listening to Leslie Marshall each Tuesday through Friday or Brad Bannon each Monday, you can hear them from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the Progressive Voices Network. Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
Scott Paul. Scott is president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We're talking about solar. We're talking about wind. We're talking about...
Don't give up. Don't give up. What's true?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Okay, everybody, trigger warning, trigger warning.
Roe v. Wade, I did something that nobody thought was possible, and Roe v. Wade was terminated, was put back to the states. Now, people, pro-lifers, have the right to negotiate for the first time. They had no rights at all. Because the radical people on this are really the people, the Democrats, that say after 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and even after birth, you're allowed to terminate the baby.
Democrats aren't saying that. I just have to. Democrats are not saying that.
Of course
That's
they do.
not true.
You have a Virginia governor, previous governor, who said after the baby is born, you will make a determination, and if you want, you will kill that baby. The baby is now born.
Democrats writ large are not talking about that. Only 1% of late-term abortions happen in. Always in the state of
They are
crisis.
the radical people because nobody wants to see abortion after 5 months and 6 months and 7 months. And now it's going to, it gave people that believe in pro-life, look, just so you understand, it's pretty much 50-50. It's a 50-50 issue. Amazing. If you look at the charts, it's been 49-51. It's been like that for many years. Goes both ways. 51, both ways. Ready? I was able to do something which gave at least pro-life people a voice.
They had a voice. They had a voice and they had a choice. And their choice was whether to have an abortion or not to have an abortion. And that's as far as their choice should go. You know, your rights begin and end where your nose begins and ends. And that is the way America preserves freedom. That is what Benjamin Franklin tried to explain to people. That is what the United States is all about. The idea that, we needed to give pro-life people a voice in my reproductive life? No, we don't. That's just so ridiculous. That is just so stupid. But he's sitting there, listen, he's Democrats want to kill a baby. This is one of the old tropes, okay? That we're murderers. Not just Democrats are murderers. Democratic women are murderers. And then there are some subversives in the GOP and tons of independent women that are subversive that literally want to get pregnant so that they can kill a baby after birth. You know what that's called? That has a name. That's called homicide. It's illegal in every single solitary nook and cranny of our country. Homicide. I mean, I can't believe that he.
Nobody wants to see abortions when you have a baby in the womb. I said with Hillary Clinton when we had the debate, I made a statement, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month. What? You're allowed to do that, and you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Again, no one is arguing
listen,
for that. That's
look,
not a part of anyone's platform, Mr.
The
President.
Democrats are able to kill the baby after birth.
Let me talk to you.
Nobody wants that.
Oh, my God. And he said, that clip right there? I'm telling you, I'll punish you. If you don't call the show and you don't participate in this here thing for the rest of the week, I will play that clip. That clip is almost 5 minutes long of him insisting that women are murderers and that we want to kill babies after birth, which is called homicide. Okay? I don't know. What do we want to kill them in 3rd grade too, Mr. President? Do we want to kill them in the 2nd semester of college? I mean, what in the hell are you talking about? It's homicide. This is insanity. The crap that, and that's why people were so angry at Kristen Welker for putting him on again as the sociopath that he is. Oh, well, she fact checked him. No, all she was able to get out is that is nobody's platform. That's all she. No Democrats want to kill a baby in a womb. No Democrat. You know what I mean? But it's like such bull. Oh, I want to say it so bad. It's so disgusting, okay?
You have probably heard more and more Republicans, including Donald Trump, who just over the weekend accused Democrats of supporting abortion rights up to and after birth. Can you be clear about...
What does that mean, after birth, abortion after birth? It's made up. It's a political
Can you just be clear about what limits on abortion
Are you
should
serious?
be?
It's a political thing. People are not seeking abortion.
But what is
the
policy? What should it be?
The policy, it's not up to Donald Trump or me. It's up to you, to women that have to bear that responsibility uniquely and distinctively. And the reality is, it's a canard. It's a political frame. It's total BS. And it's exactly where they need to go because they know they've gone too far.
But there has to
on
be
the other
some
side.
kind.
Okay, no, there doesn't have to be some kind. It's called homicide, okay? If somebody gives birth to a baby and a doctor comes in the room and says, okay, would you like to kill it now? Then you too are in a conspiracy to commit homicide. That is not health care. That doesn't happen. Okay, 1% of late-term abortions occur because of a crisis in the pregnancy, because the baby is unviable, because the baby has died, because the woman got septic, because she's carrying a dead child. I mean, come on, this is medical crap. And they're sitting there actually asking Democrats, well, there has to be some kind of limit there. There is a limit. Roe v. Wade had a limit. It was 24 weeks or viability, meaning the fetus could live outside of the mother. That's the limit. That's the end of the conversation. Everything else is health care, okay? Everything else. Anything that would happen after viability, anything that would happen to a woman in her 8th month, in her 9th month, in her 7th month, anything at all would be crisis care. Nobody says, I don't want to have, I changed my mind. If they do, they put the child up for adoption. I have never seen a prosecution in this country for any woman who ever decided to kill her baby after birth, because it doesn't happen. This is bizarro world, and they've always led you down this bad, path in order to create a culture of neglect for women, a culture of scrambling for health care, a culture of suffering, and a culture of chaos. It is who they are. It is what they do. They are not interested in solving any problem that you might have, okay? None. First, they have to poll it. Then they have to see how women are responding to it or men are responding to it. Then they have to see themselves lose elections based on their choice on a policy position. And then when they do, they actually figure out a way to change the wording, so that they get to continue the chaotic suffering and, still get elected. This is so sick and sad. I swear to God. And so, listen, the idea that they are pro anything to do with you or your life or your ability to make a living is bizarre. They're not pro you. They're pro power. They're pro themselves. And their policies suck. Okay. Now they're threatening to shut down our government yet again. We just went through this in May. June, July, August, September, 4 months ago. And the best they can do is not honor the agreement that they made 4 months ago and to renege on that agreement and to threaten us with, tanking our government again. And the best that they can do is offer us a reprieve until next month. That's all that they're discussing is a continuing resolution to fund the government till October. That's all they're willing to even say they'll vote for. Today, even on the Department of Defense budget, we have 12 different appropriations bills. That's what makes, and then they put them all together and they call them the omnibus, right? The omnibus budget. today, they want to vote on everything standalone when they have no time because they didn't consider, they didn't prepare, they didn't do their homework, they didn't do any work. Lauren Boebert, as you could see, is in a movie, is in a performance theater in Denver, getting felt up and grabbing the salami. That's what they're very busy doing. Okay, so they're not prepared. Okay, they're not. So they want to vote even though they're not prepared. So the DOD bill was separated out. You know that they can't even agree on the rules. The conservatives can't agree on the rules to actually even appropriate money for the Department of Defense. And, when you match that with Tommy Tuberville's ridiculousness about abortion, okay, that's his issue too, right? That the military said that if a woman should be raped in the military, which happens, I don't even want to tell you, okay? 1 in 4 women in this country will be raped. Okay. So that if a woman wants to leave and go to another place outside of the military base to get health care, Tommy Tuberville says that no, the government should not help her get there. The government shouldn't do that in exchange for her pledging her life to serve this country. Okay. And for that, he's holding up the commandant of the Marines. We have no head of the Army. We have no head of the Navy, right? Because of abortion, Oh, this is such garbage. Well, now the House conservatives they won't even fund the DOD. They won't even fund the Department of Defense.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.
911, what's your emergency?
America's healthcare system is broken, and people are dying.
Welcome to Code WACK, where we shine a light on America's callous healthcare system, how it hurts us, and what we can do about it. I'm your host, Brenda Gazzar. This time on Code WACK, what's the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike about, and what's at stake for actors? Plus, what could the ongoing strike mean for their health care? To find out, we spoke to Pat Finn, a Los Angeles-based actor who's worked in Hollywood for more than 25 years. He's appeared in such shows as Seinfeld, Friends, Drew Carey, and Murphy Brown. Was there ever a time that you thought, I'm not going to make it? I'm not going to earn enough credits or do enough movies to get the health insurance?
Yeah, you get to times where you're about 2 months out, and then you start adding it up, and you add up your checks, or you can go on your account with SAG, and you can look, or you can call and say, where am I at? And they'll be like, you're $3,300 short. And, you all of a sudden it's instead of a field goal kicker practice, you're like, oh shoot, this is an important field goal. This audition's really important. So you don't want to push it. You don't want to not change your style or what you do, but you're cognizant of it because of the importance of it. And I know friends that have not been able to get it, and they're like, yeah, I don't have insurance right now. I don't qualify. So all of a sudden they'll get something, thank goodness, or what have you. And then you get to a point where some actors are forced to get out for a little while or forever just because it's unattainable.
Get the full Code WACK story on ProgressiveVoices.com and on the PV app. Catch all our episodes by subscribing to Code WACK wherever you find your podcasts. This podcast is powered by Heal California, a nonprofit that uplifts the voices of those fighting for healthcare reform around the country. Until next time, stay healthy.
The Bob Cesca Show.
Bob Cesca. Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
And these guys have been playing us for fools. They've been playing all of us for fools.
The state of California sues major oil companies over climate damages. Another investigation shows big oil executives plotted to deceive the public, discredit climate science, and delay action. Plus, protesters demand the end of the fossil fuel era as UN General Assembly gets underway.
Good luck with that.
No, seriously, good luck with that. All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, analysis, and snarky comment.
Climate change is a global issue. It calls for a coordinated global policy response, not piecemeal litigation that benefits attorneys and politicians.
Says Mike Wirth, CEO of Chevron. So you know you can take that to the bank. No, seriously, you can take that to the bank. This is your Green News Report. Okay, Desi Doyen, we have been tracking, warning, concerned about this for at least 2 weeks, but Hurricane Lee is finally over?
Yes. Over the weekend, Hurricane Lee finally made landfall as a post-tropical storm in Nova Scotia on Saturday, bringing heavy rain, coastal flooding, and wind damage linked to the deaths of 2 people and knocking out power to tens of thousands along the U.S. East Coast and Atlantic Canada.
Sounds like a bullet was dodged there?
Yes, it wasn't nearly as damaging as it could have been.
Good.
In other news, in a bombshell new investigation, the Wall Street Journal reveals the oil industry is still deceiving the public about climate science.
You don't say.
Previous revelations showed that Exxon and other oil majors knew as far back as the 1950s that fossil fuels cause dangerous man-made climate change and then spent millions to mislead the public about it. The Journal revealed new internal documents uncovered in a lawsuit showing that starting in 2006, after Exxon publicly conceded that fossil fuels cause global warming, their executives then plotted to muddle and downplay climate science findings to protect their profits.
Of course.
Exxon is a defendant in dozens of liability lawsuits accusing the company of deception. Over the weekend, California added another one, suing 5 of the world's biggest oil companies. California alleges that ExxonMobil, Shell, BP, ConocoPhillips, Chevron, and their lobbyists in the American Petroleum Institute knew for more than 50 years about the risks and harms of using fossil fuels and mounted a decades-long disinformation campaign to discredit climate science and deceive investors and the public, all while causing billions of dollars in damages to communities and the environment.
That's a serious matter. If California was its own country, it would be, I think, the 5th largest economy in the world. So they have some firepower to bring behind this.
Yes, they do. California's lawsuit details decades of oil industry climate disinformation and claims that the oil companies created a public nuisance, destroyed natural resources, and violated California's false advertising and product liability laws. The state is demanding the creation of a special fund for oil companies to pay for climate damages in the state. A spokesperson for Shell said the company understands the need to address climate change, but believes that the courts are not the right venue. But California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom wasn't buying it.
The climate crisis is, after all, fossil fuel crisis. Period. Full stop. And these guys have been playing us for fools. They've been playing all of us for fools. They continue to play us for fools. The scale and scope of what the state of California can do, we think can move the needle. It sure as hell can do this, and forgive me for being long-winded, it can illuminate their deceit. It can illuminate their deception and their lies over the course of 50, 60, 70 years. They've been lying to you.
Well, this would be interesting to find out. Who is more powerful, the 5th largest economy in the world or all the oil companies?
Also in California, state lawmakers passed 2 new transparency laws that require companies to disclose their actual greenhouse gas emissions to investors, not just direct emissions from operations, but more critically, what's called Scope 3 emissions from customers using their products, by far the lion's share of emissions, especially for the oil industry. And finally, in New York City over the weekend, a massive march kicked off the Climate Week conference alongside the annual United Nations General Assembly meeting. In the largest climate rally since the pandemic, 75,000 people took to the streets to demand world leaders end the fossil fuel era. They demanded President Biden phase out fossil fuel drilling, declare a climate emergency, and speed up the transition to clean energy.
Good. Go get them. For much more on all of these stories and the ones we couldn't get to today, check out our website, at greennews.brandblog.com. Don't forget you can download our reports anytime via Pandora, TuneIn, Apple, Google, or Amazon Podcasts. Find, follow, and share us planet-wide on the Facebooks, Mastodons, and sites still known as Twitter.
Mary had a little man perform. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Their plan, Maganomics, is more extreme than anything America's ever seen before. They're back at it again, breaking their commitment, threatening more cuts and threatening to shut down government again this month. Now, what they do talk about is claiming all these cuts are going to reduce the deficit. When it comes to reducing deficit, let's compare the records a little bit. Under my predecessor, you remember the self-professed king of debt?
Yeah.
Well, it turned out he was. He's actually the emperor of debt. He created more debt than any other president did in 1 year.
That is true, okay? Donald Trump added $7.8 trillion to the debt. $7.8 trillion. And, you know, when they're running up the debt and deficit by giving away tax breaks without pay-fors, things that will pay for their spending, they say deficits don't matter. And then every time they either crash the economy or we have a pandemic or, you know, the debt is out of control or the deficit is like, woo, like 150% of, GDP, then all of a sudden they go, oh, well, we have to cut Social Security. Oh, Medicare is contributing. Oh, you know. But never, never, ever, ever the defense budget. No, never, never, never. Except for now. Now they won't even pass the defense budget. That's how radical the right-wing lunatic Freedom Crackers caucus is. These people are crazy. And they are determined to break this country. They are determined to end the democratic experiment. They are determined to destroy American democracy as we know it. They don't like it. They want autocracy. They want access to the bank account. They don't want anybody telling them that they can't have this money. They don't want to have to give a reason for this money. They don't want to have to, appropriate money and then live by what they appropriate. No, it is so radical. This is so crazy. And there is no reason for it other than what I just said. There's no reason except to create chaos. There is no reason to not fund the government. There's no reason to ignore the deal that they made 4 months ago. They just made this deal. And we gave them, everybody met in the middle. Democrats agreed to spending cuts. Yes, we did. We reduced the IRS funding. Because, they don't want complex IRS agents, to go through complex tax returns. They don't want the really skilled accountant type, corporate type accountants working at the IRS. Because then guys like Trump and Abbott and guys like Paxton, and all the corrupt, tax evaders would continue to get away with it. So we agreed to a reduction in IRS funding in exchange for the House Republicans to raise the debt limit and forego deeper cuts to things like Social Security and Medicare, right? There was like some savings there. There was modest savings there. But, and now as the new budget approaches, they don't want to, even abide by their own agreement. It's really sick.
We are, by my math, 11 days away from the deadline of September 30th, a week from Saturday, to get a new budget through and to keep the government from shutting down. I think a lot of people talk about this in political terms with brinksmanship and all the rest. But from where you sit at Treasury, what would a government shutdown mean to the economy?
Well, look, there's absolutely no reason why we should have a government shutdown. Democrats in both the House and the Senate and Republicans in the Senate are ready to pass appropriations bills or a continuing resolution to keep the government open and operating for the American people. Speaker McCarthy needs to find a way to do his job, which is to pass a continuing resolution or bills. So there's no reason. We've got a good, strong economy.
There you go.
It has a lot of momentum. Inflation is coming down. The labor market remains very strong. We really don't need a shock to the economy in the form of a slowdown. There's no reason for it at all.
Okay, so that's Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who obviously, as she's saying, we have a strong economy, we're in for a soft landing, the labor market is very strong. She's actually telling you why they want to shut down the government. She's actually outlining for you what the Republican objection is to funding the government. It is that we have momentum. It is that the economy is strong. It is that inflation is coming down ahead of an election year, 2024. It is that they have staked out a really untenable position on just about everything from books and banning them to African American history to abortion. Every single issue that they have weighed in on, they've been wrong on. All the polling is telling them that. And so now what do they need? They need the economy to be thrown into chaos. They need the economy to struggle. They need the labor market to be, out of control and contracting. They need, they got all these strikes going on. You got the writer's strike, the Screen Actors Guild strike. You got the UAW out on strike, right? And the Republicans understand that if they create chaos in the economy, it ain't going to go well for those people that are on strike. We're not going to get a contract for the UAW that actually understands that they're going to be making, vehicles in an age of artificial intelligence, in the age of robotics, right? And they're just trying to CYA, right? So that they have pensions when they're phased out, if that should happen, right? So that they can continue to support their middle-class families, if that's the choice of the big three, right? The same thing with the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild. Their entire business model changed. It went from broadcast media to streaming. Okay, my whole thing is, is destroyed, right? Radio, the deregulation of, my business. So that's why, we're streaming this way, right? And everything changes. It does. That's what progress actually brings with it. It's a double-edged sword. It's a two-sided coin. And all workers are saying, well, but the Republicans understand that if they crash the economy, then everybody's going to be left with nothing. And that's their goal. It's what they want. It's what they're after. It's what they need in order to win. Because all of their policies on everything that you could possibly think of are not popular. I've told you this a million ways to Sunday. They have no platform. They state nothing that they're for. Because if they told you what they are for, which is more tax cuts unpaid for the wealthy, more trickle-down economics that never works, less health care, less education, less child care, less child tax credits, less Social Security, less Medicare, definitely no Medicaid, right? Less food stamp money. If they told you what they were for, you would laugh so hard and walk away and say, what, are you crazy? Really? I vote for you and then you stiff me? I vote for you and then you punch me in the face? I vote for you and then you take away my lifeline? Yes. And that's why they cheat. There is no reason to shut down the government, none, but they do this to us year after year after year after year. But now the time and the space between threats is getting smaller and shorter, right? So 4 months ago, they made a deal. 4 months ago, they actually, the far right actually wanted a budget that would slash funding for everything, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, education, you name it, the DOJ, FBI, slash funding across the board. They wanted to cut it by 8%. 8%. You're talking about cuts to education, transportation, national parks, public health, law enforcement, the whole thing. The Democrats said, all right, sit down, let's talk about this. And we got a deal. And we said, okay, we'll cut spending by like 1%, sort of flat funding is what it is, no increase. And we always had like a 2% year-over-year increase. We said, okay, we'll do flat funding, no increase. And they shook our hands. They said, yeah, that's good. And now they want to renege on that. Why? because I'm telling you, they want us completely rattled. They want all the progress, all the economic progress, all of the good stuff that's happening to American families and workers. They want it to end. They feel like that's the only way that they can win in 24, and they're willing to do it.
Clear for takeoff.
The Bob Cesca Show.
Bob Cesca. I think McCarthy's only going to serve one term as Speaker.
Well, yeah, because he's going to lose the House leadership regardless, because we're going to take it back. But
yeah, right.
I mean, it's funny because he's making Paul Ryan look like an effective speaker.
I know. Well, Paul Ryan faced these same groups of crazies.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have ever guessed? We're following the election of 2012, and Paul Ryan's the vice presidential nominee, and we're watching this guy. I think very few of us had a sense of just how brutally insane the Republican Party was going to be within 5 years of that.
Yeah.
Just the madness that has collapsed in this country on our heads. Oh, meantime, reactions from the Senate about this impeachment inquiry nonsense. Asked if there's enough evidence to impeach Biden, Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Republican West Virginia, another member of the Senate GOP leadership team, replied, "I do not think there's enough evidence to impeach Biden." Senator Marco Rubio, Little Marco, for his part, said attempting to impeach a sitting president should generally be avoided for the interest of the country. Meantime, Representative Ken Buck, this is an actual member of the House of Representatives. He said, the time for impeachment is the time when there's enough evidence linking President Biden, if there's evidence linking President Biden, to a high crime or misdemeanor. That doesn't exist right now. Thank you, Congressman Buck. Moderate House Republicans, such as Rep. Don Bacon, Republican Nebraska, say House GOP investigators haven't found any smoking gun that would warrant voting on formal impeachment proceedings. Mitt Romney said, quote, there hasn't been any conduct which reaches the constitutional standard for impeachment. So, yeah. Good luck.
Bob Cesca.
It's the Bob Cesca Show. New episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, everywhere you get your podcast.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1977. That was the day that is remembered in Youngstown, Ohio as Black Monday. The Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company announced plans to close its doors, laying off more than 4,000 workers. Youngstown was a steel town. During the first half of the 20th century, plants were booming. Youngstown was also a union town, a stronghold for the United Steelworkers by the 1940s. But by the 1970s, the once booming steel industry was going bust in Youngstown. More and more jobs moved overseas and to states with less union protections. Black Monday began a devastating series of plant closings. 2 years later, Briar Hill Mill closed, followed in 1980 by U.S. Steel. In 1985, it was Republic Steel's turn. By the early 1990s, the steel industry, which had once employed 40,000 people, only had 1,000 workers left in Youngstown. William Lawson, the executive director of the Mahoning Valley Historical Society, recalled the impact of the closings, saying, quote, over the course of my high school career, many boys and girls I had known in grade school left. Some in the middle of school years, most during the summers, as their parents accepted transfers to work in other plants around the country or lost their jobs and went out in search of employment elsewhere. In 1997, the Jeanette furnace at the shuttered Briar Hill plant was dynamited, despite preservationists' efforts to save it. Bringing down the Sweet Jenny furnace became symbol of Youngstown's economic ruin, memorialized in this Bruce Springsteen song. Here in Youngstown. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
I watched it on TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
What happens to the economy? What would you say from Treasury?
Well, we have not tried to estimate the impact of a shutdown. It would depend importantly on how long it lasts. But Again, there's really no good reason why there should be a shutdown. When the debt ceiling was raised, an agreement was struck about that would serve to lower the deficit by about $1 trillion over the next decade, and we should just adhere to the bipartisan agreement that was struck.
Their word is worth absolutely what you paid for it. Nothing. Their word is worthless. They want to renegotiate a deal that they just struck 4 months ago. That is just ridiculous. And now they're going to hold the entire country hostage again and make us all, doubt that we can, ever prevail in anything because they could actually destroy our way of life by just saying no to everything. I mean, listen, Kevin McCarthy, I got to tell you, the idea that we've got like a power sharing agreement with, some of these freedom crackers, in the House of Representatives is so bizarre that, Matt Gaetz is suddenly the leader of the House with Marge and Lauren and Biggs and Gomer. I mean, these people all were tweeting out ahead of an attack on the Capitol that this was going to be 1776. They were going to destroy, this country any way they could, and they've been planning and plotting to destroy this country any way that they could since the day that they got to the House of Representatives. It's so sad, but it's demonstrably true. And so now, they'll crash the economy any way that they can. They'll create chaos, and and McCarthy McCarthy only needs to honor the agreement that they made with the Democrats 4 months ago, and the Democrats would vote with the majority of the Republicans minus the freedom crackers, and that's it. End of contretemps, end of crisis, end of it all. It just and we just get to move along. No, that's not their goal. They don't want to see stability. They don't want America to be a stable democracy. Okay, they want to create a crack that literally breaks this country. It's so bizarre. It's so sad. Now they're going to say. I like that Jessica Yellen went down this road today about there's no reason. They had an agreement with us 4 months ago that the Treasury doesn't even price in the cost of a government shutdown because you can't know how long they would put that, they would have their little fit. You can't know how long they would be giant babies about all this. So they don't even begin to figure out how much we would lose in gross domestic product or how much it would cost us as Americans, right, to not fund the government. We know that when the government shuts down, billions of dollars of economic activity are lost. We just don't know how many billions because we don't know how long this could last. But the idea that they're blaming Joe Biden for a bad economy, that is bizarre, that is rich, that is really, really strange. Because if there's anything you should thank Joe Biden for, it's the soft landing, it's no recession, it's bringing inflation down, it's investing in the United States, it's an agenda that actually creates a battery belt here in the United States out of a rust belt. It is an investment in microchip factories. It's an investment in EV factories. It's that's being matched by the private sector. And they only put their money on the table when they feel things are stable and when they feel that the government is contributing. It's kind of like you guys out there, you love a match day when it comes to free speech TV because your money goes further. That's how private sector business operates too. When there's government meeting them, with subsidies, or there's government meeting them with investment in a certain enterprise, in a certain, batteries or microchips or, charging stations, then the private sector says, "Oh, okay, that's a legit, investment. We're up for that. We'll match your investment, and we'll build stuff too." And that's how the economy begins to be awesome. Well, the Republicans can't have that in 2024. They can't have Joe Biden taking credit for being an effective president when they simply have it in your head that he's too old to exist, even though their guy is literally 3 years younger. And the media plays this game. They just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it. You know, every time you hear them talk about Joe Biden or abortion, I mean, you know, you just saw, what's her face on CNN, Dana Bash. You just saw her actually question Gavin Newsom about shouldn't there be limits on abortion and like when it's available? Shouldn't there be limit? No, they really shouldn't, because if somebody is, 8 months pregnant and something really horrendous happens, then, you got to do the medical procedure to save the woman's life. Period. End of story. To give her a chance to have another chance. I mean, it's so ridiculous. These questions are so unanswerable because you're asking it of people who have no medical background. Okay. And even when you do, you find friendlies, right? I mean, Debbie Birx, really? Well, maybe you could put the UV light inside the body. I don't know. She's going to look into it, right? You're going to look into it quickly and strongly. And that woman with her scarves just sat there and refused to speak up and refused to acknowledge that this man was insane and that he was causing more unnecessary death by telling that crap to people than would normally have happened in the United States if everybody understood, oh, it's a virus. And, oh, you need to go be tested. And, oh, it's airborne. You know what I mean? Just here, I'll show you something. This just blew my mind. This is what's going on in Florida. We have a Surgeon General who's never, ever, ever practiced medicine. I think he was a teacher or something. Anyway, Ron DeSantis read, again, an op-ed. See, this is how, compliant, complacent, complicit Republicans talk to each other. They talk to each other in the newspapers, which you're not reading. They're like Bill Barr. He wrote an op-ed to Donald Trump saying, I can help you. I can get, I can give you 4,000 reasons why you need to get rid of Jeff Sessions and hire me, right? He recused himself in the Russia investigation. Really? He recused himself because he was part of your campaign and he had a modicum of ethic? I won't do that. I won't be that guy. Well, this guy in Florida who auditioned for a Surgeon General in the newspaper, he is literally telling people, there's going to be, like, year after year we have flu, right? And flu changes. And so they update the flu vaccine each year for the type of flu that's going around. Well, same thing's happening with COVID-19, right? It keeps mutating, and the vaccines get updated, right, to meet the challenge of the, morphing of the spike protein, which is what we're talking about. Well, our Surgeon General got on the TV and told you that's unsafe. It's deadly.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.
This is Stephanie Miller, and here's what you missed. You know who obviously listens? Senator John Fetterman, who said he will never understand progressives who refuse to support Joe Biden. He clearly got the memo about what's for dinner.
Joe
what's
Biden.
For dinner? What's for what we having today?
Biden is what's for dinner.
What we having tomorrow night?
Biden. He's for dinner. He's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and dessert.
What if I want a Happy Meal?
Go get happy with the meal called Biden.
Biden's gonna be in there.
Okay. Can I just say, the Kamala Harris bull is officially driven me insane. I think this was Seska wrote this. That's the subtext of every attack on Biden's age. Beware of Kamala. In other words, Biden is old is a dog whistle to scare racist white people. Thank you. Thank you. I refuse to bow to the sexism and racism. The newcomer is not likable. I mean, I don't know if you've seen her on college campuses this week. Right. She's like a rock star.
Absolutely. And you know what? And their fear is that, their children may be taken by the darkness.
Yes. That's on our to-do list. Yeah, it's on the to-do list. The Black people to-do list is take the white children into the darkness. It's like number, I think it's 3.
Okay, and I guess the gays will take care of the rest, right, Chris? According to the lady that says gays are giving her children dildos and butt plugs
In rainbow rooms.
willy-nilly
In rainbow
rooms.
rooms,
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
So-
is there a rainbow room
and
nearby?
that's presumably the white children that black people haven't already stolen. Pardon?
Right.
There's been the supply chain got disrupted, and I haven't gotten my resupply. So where's the nearest rainbow room?
On Sunset.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hear all this and more on the next Stephanie Miller Show.
No labels designated Donald Trump as a problem solver in 2016. You stand by that?
He solved some problems and he didn't solve others, just like every other politician in Washington, D.C.
For the first time ever, a president has been impeached twice.
January 6th, it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and they were there proud. They were there with love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
A 9-member jury found that Donald Trump did sexually abuse her.
Federal indictments, plural.
A grand jury here in New York City has just handed up an indictment against former President Donald Trump, making him the first former president in U.S. history to face criminal charges.
Including the unlawful retention of defense information, which is an Espionage Act charge.
Oh, thank God for Ted Cruz. Once again, the far right-wing U.S. Senator is saving you and me from a political horror that doesn't exist. This is Ted's specialty, for he seems unable to deal with the real economic and social problems that workaday people actually have. Thus, he constantly tries to divert attention from his senatorial incompetence by staging embarrassing political stunts, such as his furious fulminations against Big Bird, Mickey Mouse, and other fictional characters. Unable to triumph over them, however, Cruz is now conjuring up.
Don't give up, don't give up, what's true?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, we only have this pitch and then 3 more days to raise $210,000 for this quarter's payroll at Free Speech TV, right? This is viewer-supported independent media, and we don't take any corporate money, and we don't take any political money at all from anybody ever. So it's up to you and me. Call now at 877-378-8669. You could talk to a human being that way. You can use the QR code at the bottom of your screen right there. See that little thing right there? That will get you to freespeech.org, which is our website where you can donate, or you can go to freespeech.org by typing it, or you can type in FSTV on your phone and text that to 44321, like a countdown, 44321, and we'll send you a secure link, and you can donate that way, and you can make a recurring donation, or you could do a one-time, whatever you're comfortable with. Thank you very much. 210,000. That is our goal. We only had 2 weeks to raise it. We have 3 more days for that, and so we thank you so much for putting your money where my mouth is. Julie in New York.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
I want to thank you very much. I just made another donation, whatever, because you guys are awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, and I was just listening about Janet Yellen and whatever's going on. I guess my question is, how do we fight back if you're not
vote?
In the union?
It's really that simple. Just vote.
Well, I do. But it doesn't feel like it's very powerful.
Well,
Unions
you know
feel
something,
powerful.
join a union. What do you do?
Well, if you're retired and on
you're retired.
How do you
join AARP? I don't know.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
And they're
No, so here's the thing, Julie. You know, it's funny. I talk to people in New York and California a lot, and people say to me, "No, it just doesn't feel like my vote's going to make much of a difference because I'm in a blue state. I'm in a blue state, right?" Okay. Well, New York actually gerrymandered the map, and because they did, you had 4 Republicans give the majority to the Republicans in the House of Representatives. It matters if everyone votes every single time. It matters.
Got you.
So
Got you.
never think it doesn't.
All right. I'm in there. I just want to say you
the simplest
motivate me.
The simplest solution, Julie, is usually the best. Okay, and the simple solution is to vote.
Well, between you, Stephanie Miller, and Tom Hartman, I'm absolutely motivated.
Me too.
So, and thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for your donation. I appreciate it very much. Jerry in Minnesota. No? Jerry? Okay. Joy in California.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
This is Joyce in California.
Oh, Joyce. Hi, Joyce.
Yes, hi. I worked, I guess 4. We're under Debbie Burks for about 5 years.
Where?
I started out in San Diego, California, and then was promoted to Washington, D.C., where I was head of her program. I knew her personally.
What program?
The U.S. military HIV research program.
Ah.
Where she was head of the program. And I just wanted to say, I don't have any disrespect or respect for her, but all she really did, honestly, was host parties, just to keep everyone happy.
Was it fundraising?
It was a lot of fundraising.
So that's why she hosted parties. Listen,
Yeah.
my beef with her is how she just sat there like a mute, how she just sat there like a puppet when the president was saying stupid things like drink bleach and put UV lights inside the body. And I mean, ivermectin and all this bogus bullcrap was, coming out of his face. And she was standing there in her Fendi
Like a
scarf.
puppet.
Yeah, saying absolutely nothing. And, this is my beef with the entirety of the Republican Party. I mean, there are some, look, we just found out Mitt Romney has like a complete and total disrespect for guys like Josh Hawley, and he can't stand, Matt Gaetz and all these other guys. But did he say anything? No.
No.
Did he go and audition to be Donald Trump's Secretary of State? Yes, he did.
No.
Yes,
Oh.
he did. He went and auditioned to be
But he
Donald
did,
Trump's
he did.
Secretary of State after he said Donald Trump is a fraud. He says his word is as good as a degree from Trump University. Remember that? And then he went to go kiss his ass at his golf course in New Jersey, thinking he could be Secretary of State. I mean,
Well, that's what you gotta do.
they have no backbone. They have no courage of their convictions. It's like they have the big voice in the room until we need it, and then they go suddenly silent, like Debbie Burks did.
Well, Debbie Burks had no backbone.
Well, she obviously
She was
had.
married to a cardiologist. She lived in a nice big house in Maryland.
That
and
doesn't
all
mean that
did-
she has no backbone. What we saw her do showed us she had no backbone. What we actually were able to see with our own eyes showed us she had no backbone.
Correct.
So, and this guy, this is the Florida Surgeon General, okay? This is Ladapo. That's his name. His name is Ladapo, Joseph Ladapo. Now, Joseph Ladapo is an MD, but he's a researcher, okay? He doesn't practice. It's like saying, oh, I'm a lawyer. Yeah, well, what kind of a lawyer? Are you a lobbyist? Are you a tax attorney? Are you a litigator? Are you a criminal? Are you a civil? Like what kind? So he's a researcher. That's what, like Debbie Burks was, okay? A researcher. Listen to him on the new COVID vaccine boosters, which are out now. You can choose if you want to get. There is no mandate. There is no criteria as far as if you want to keep this job, you have to. No. It's just there like a flu shot, okay? And here he is on TV proactively telling you it's bad. It's sick.
I think most people in the United States recognize that the safety of these vaccines is unlike certainly unlike flu, which they always try and pair it with and compare it to.
Why?
But this is a very different type of medication.
What?
And it's an unsafe medication. I mean, it's really unfortunate that this is what so many Americans have been persuaded to take.
It's unsafe? What evidence does he have that would defeat the FDA or would defeat the CDC? What evidence does he have that it's unsafe? You know who I trust? I trust my pharmacist, Bill. Hi, Bill. He's like, you know, you don't need the RSV vaccine. You really don't. But you do need the COVID booster. I mean, and this asshat is going to sit on the TV and he reports to death sentence. Ron DeSantis, who you know, the cruelty of Ron DeSantis is endless. It's endless. You know, I mean, he talks about bloodletting and murder, and he talks about, you know, he's killing people at the border, stone cold dead. And now he's got his Surgeon General on Fox News telling people in Florida who, you know, obviously the Fox News viewer is going to be over 65, telling them, oh, I'm just so sorry, but this is dangerous. This is not safe. You shouldn't take this vaccine.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. Randi Rhodes. RandiRhodes.com.
A somber day for the country. Former President Trump has been indicted, connected to efforts to interfere with the democratic process.
After it became public on the afternoon of January 6th that the vice president would not fraudulently alter the election results, a large and angry crowd,
including many individuals whom the defendant had deceived into believing the vice president could and might change the election results, violently attacked the Capitol and halted the proceeding. As violence ensued,
the defendant and co-conspirators exploited the disruption by redoubling efforts to levy false claims of election fraud and convince members of Congress to further delay the certification based on those claims.
We're proud of what we've done to be #1 in education freedom.
Ron DeSantis knows the importance of a good education.
But with this new bill I've signed, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Now Floridians are able to enroll at Ron DeSantis' slave trade school. Find out how easy it is to learn from home, just not your home, for a career in exciting fields such as,
being a blacksmith.
Slaves did develop skills while they were enslaved and then used those skills as blacksmiths, as in agriculture, carpentry, tailoring, painting, domestic service, transportation, in the shipping business.
They listed everything out, and if you have any questions about it, just ask the Department of Education.
or get your degree. You can major in rewritten history or generational trauma. Call now.
You should talk to them about it. I mean, I didn't do it, and I wasn't involved in it.
As kids, we learn that bullies can't help it. They pick on anyone they think is smaller, weaker. They pick on people they think won't fight back.
So you're going to give a speech, or you're going to ask a question?
And like all bullies,
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
they keep going.
Why don't you go yourself, you tiny brain, and I hope this gets picked up.
Until they get punched in the face.
I still got hope because I know we are still here and we will never quit.
Until they see someone standing up.
This is the voice of the people.
Not breaking.
If the governor thinks he can do a better job, then he should run for state attorney, not president.
Not bending.
That's my question to you, Governor. You're the governor of the state. I'm not the governor of the state.
Not giving in.
Do you think that your tweets and your name calling are turning people off?
Because when bullies get their way, they never stop.
Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this.
There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
I'm just saying, he wanted to attack Iran and what? These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me.
There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se.
Trying to
Declassified.
figure out yeah.
See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
So when you send it, it's declassified. I declassified everything. All I know is this, everything I did was right.
Excited to see members of Congress incite violence against law enforcement, enjoy armed insurrections, and the big lie? If so, thank a MAGA Republican. If you think election results should only count when Republicans win, thank a MAGA Republican today. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Whether you're listening to Leslie Marshall each Tuesday through Friday or Brad Bannon each Monday, you can hear them from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the Progressive Voices Network. Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
Scott Paul. Scott is president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing. We're talking about solar. We're talking about wind. We're talking about...
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Controversy and confusion as 5 Americans held prisoner for years in Iran arrive back in the U.S. and reunite with their families after a stopover in Doha. The Biden administration celebrating the prisoner swap.
It means that husbands and wives, fathers and children, grandparents can hug each other again, can see each other again. So it's a day that I'm grateful for.
But not everyone is so pleased. As part of the swap, the Biden administration is granting clemency to 5 Iranians held in the U.S., and it will unfreeze $6 billion in Iranian oil revenues.
This involved the access by Iran to its own money.
Yes.
Money that had accumulated in Korean Bank as the result of oil sales that Iran made.
The Biden administration says Iran has agreed to use the money only for humanitarian needs like food and medicine.
They're not getting cash. They can't just cut a check and pull out the money for whatever they want, whenever they want.
I mean, I see, this is what I'm talking about with the media. Instead of celebrating the success of our State Department, Anthony Blinken, the President of the United States, people who literally were negotiating the release of prisoners who've been held for 8 years, meaning they were taken when Donald Trump was president, okay? Were able to get the release not just of 5 Americans, but also their family members who were not permitted to leave Iran, even though they weren't in prison. They were still... Remember that movie with Sally Field, Not Without My Daughter? That's the situation that they were in Iran. They were not allowed to leave the country, okay? And we got 7 people out of that godforsaken place. And what did we have to give them? Their own freaking money back, right? They have money accumulating, and this is what happens with sanctions, okay? The money that Iran accumulates through Iranian oil sales during the period of time when they were part of the Iranian, the agreement that we as Democrats, as a democratic society, actually engaged Iran in so that they would not go nuclear, but we would let them sell their oil, went into a South Korean bank, okay? So there was money sitting in a South Korean bank that was the result of Iranian oil sales. But they weren't allowed, Iran was not allowed to have access to that money. So we used that as a negotiating tool. And we said, you want access to that money? Okay, I'll tell you what. You are going to release prisoners and you're going to give them to the Qataris. And the reason why we had to go to Qatar to do this is because the Iranians distrust the United States so much since Donald Trump that they will not talk to Americans. Okay? And so the Qatari government had to substitute for us. And they made this arrangement where they said, you're going to give up these 5 plus 2 of their relatives who you said can't leave Iran. You're going to return them to the United States via Qatar. You're just going to send them to Qatar. And when they get there and when they're safe and on a plane to the United States, we will allow you to request some of the $6 billion as you need it for medical supplies and humanitarian relief. Period. We're not just giving them $6 billion, and the media, controversy and people are confused. And it's like, oh my God, not everybody is so happy. John Kirby had to go on the TV today.
We've talked about this many times before, the precedent that critics of this agreement or any kind of negotiation in this way have of what they're looking at. Because what Iran often wants is it wants its money. So you've got $6 billion of Iranian money that they now regain access to for humanitarian purposes. What can the United States do if it is seen that they're using this money not for food, not for medicine, for bad reasons?
Lock it back down.
Yeah.
We can stop a transaction. And it's important to remember, Kate, that the regime doesn't get the money. They can request a withdrawal for humanitarian goods, agricultural products, medical supplies, food. And then we will run a process through which those goods are contracted for. The Iranians don't even get to let the contracts. We'll make sure that the contracts are let with vendors that we know we can trust. And then that material will be delivered to the Iranian people. The Iranian regime does not get hands on this money.
Yeah, the Biden administration blows. They suck. He's so bad. He's too old. This is one of the most effective presidents I have ever seen in my lifetime, okay? I mean, it's so unbelievable. So you get Americans released from Iranian prisons and their families, and the terms are that they have to request their money from a South Korean bank to pay for contracts that we will enter them into for food supplies, agricultural supplies, and medical supplies, and only with vendors we trust. Oh yeah, Biden sucks. It is so disgusting, really it is. So, listen, let's just refresh your memory. Biden went to the United Nations General Assembly today to tell the world that we are at an inflection point, right? And that the world is now going to divvy itself up according to who wants to remain a democracy, who wants to become a democracy like Ukraine, and who wants to be an autocratic nation like, Poland, Russia, China, right? And we're at this inflection point. And, people were listening and paying attention to what he was saying. Meanwhile, I would just like to compare and contrast Joe Biden today.
My fellow leaders, we gather once more at an inflection point in world history. With the eyes of the world upon all of you, all of us. As President of the United States, I understand the duty my country has to lead in this critical moment, to work with countries in every region, linking them in common cause, to join together with partners who share a common vision of the future of the world, where our children do not go hungry and everyone has access to quality health care, where workers are empowered and our environment is protected, where entrepreneurs and innovators everywhere can access opportunity everywhere, where conflicts are resolved peacefully and countries can chart their own course. The United States seeks a more secure, more prosperous, more equitable world for all people, because we know our future is bound to yours. Let me repeat that again. We know our future is bound to yours. And no nation can meet the challenges of today alone.
No nation can meet the challenges of the day alone, okay? Everybody is invested together. We are bound to each other. We all share this little tiny marble. Okay. Compare and contrast that with Donald Trump's General Assembly address, where he got laughed out of the room.
Today I stand before the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
They laughed at the American president. The world laughed at the American president. And the only way he recovered from that was he laughed at himself, too. So everyone was laughing at him, including him.
Well, one thing I kind of like about that moment is that Donald Trump says things, then MAGA goes out and repeats them, and then we all laugh at MAGA at the water cooler or wherever we are. We laugh at them. This time, he got to feel that. He got laughed at right in his face on a grand stage. It's nice.
The world stage. I mean, that listen, the idea that, the president of the United States goes to the United Nations, I mean, and sets policy for peace and sets policy for prosperity, equitability, war, all of these, the American president has an extraordinary role to play, an extraordinary role. And Donald Trump used it to, literally do nothing, to take credit for nothing that he did. I mean, nothing had happened. It was the same period in his presidency as it is in Joe Biden's. It was about 2 years in when Donald Trump went to the UN, and it's about 2 years in when Biden goes to the UN. And I mean, the United Nations, it's a joke in this way. Russia and China are on the Security Council. They get to veto wars against themselves when they invade their neighbors. China might invade Taiwan. Obviously, Russia has invaded Ukraine, and they sit on the Security Council. In that way, the UN is almost obsolete. It does need to, pull itself up by its bootstraps. I don't know what to say, to save itself from its irreversible irrelevance. How else can you put it? Because they have autocracies in charge of the National Security Council. I mean, it makes no sense. But Donald Trump, we've done more than anybody in the world. And they just laugh at him like, what world are you living in, sir? What world are you living in where you've done this or you've done anything? You've done nothing except give a tax cut to the wealthiest Americans. That's what you did. Unbelievable.
Clear for takeoff.
911, what's your emergency?
America's healthcare system is broken and people are dying.
Welcome to Code WACK, where we shine a light on America's callous healthcare system, how it hurts us, and what we can do about it. I'm your host, Brenda Gazar. This time on Code WACK, what's the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike about, and what's at stake for actors? Plus, what could the ongoing strike mean for their health care? To find out, we spoke to Pat Finn, a Los Angeles-based actor who's worked in Hollywood for more than 25 years. He's appeared in such shows as Seinfeld, Friends, Drew Carey, and Murphy Brown. Was there ever a time that you thought, I'm not going to make it? I'm not going to earn enough credits or do enough movies to get the health insurance?
Yeah, you get to times where you're about 2 months out, and then you start adding it up, and you add up your checks, or you can go on your account with SAG, and you can look, or you can call and say, where am I at? And they'll be like, you're $3,300 short. And you all of a sudden it's instead of a field goal kicker practice, you're like, oh shoot, this is an important field goal. This audition's really important. So you don't want to push it. You don't want to not change your style or what you do, but you're cognizant of it because of the importance of it. And I know friends that have not been able to get it, and they're like, yeah, I don't have insurance right now. I don't qualify. So all of a sudden they'll get something, thank goodness, or what have you. And then you get to a point where some actors are forced to get out for a little while. or forever, just because it's unattainable.
Get the full Code WAC story on ProgressiveVoices.com and on the PV app. Catch all our episodes by subscribing to Code WAC wherever you find your podcasts. This podcast is powered by Heal California, a nonprofit that uplifts the voices of those fighting for healthcare reform around the country. Until next time, stay healthy.
Now, the top of the hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn presents the Green News Report.
And these guys have been playing us for fools. They've been playing all of us for fools.
The state of California sues major oil companies over climate damages. Another investigation shows big oil executives plotted to deceive the public, discredit climate science, and delay action. Plus, protesters demand the end of the fossil fuel era as UN General Assembly gets underway.
Good luck with that. No, seriously, good luck with that. All of those stories and more straight ahead. From BradBlog.com, I'm Brad Friedman.
And I'm Desi Doyen.
Stand by for 6 minutes of independent green news, politics, and